What's up? Welcome to the Fluorescent Fungus channel. We're playing our first Timeless. We're making our first Timeless video today. I'm not feeling super strong about this deck, but I'll kind of go over it. And real quick, I don't typically do call to actions either on here. I guess I'm only like 3 videos in on this channel, or on my main channel over at Nia Mushroom. But I would like to know, since this channel is going to be dedicated pretty much to just arena content, I want to know what everyone's favorite arena formats are, so I can kind of plan to play those a little bit more, figure out how to allocate my wild cards and such, because I do a lot of drafting, but unless a bunch of people say in the comments that they want to see a crap load of draft, which I'd be fine with, but outside of that, I'll probably be drafting off of camera and playing constructed on camera. So let me know what your favorite arena constructed format is, or maybe if it's draft, let me know that as well. Today we're playing another frog deck. This is the first frog deck on this channel, but I've had a mild obsession with Psychic Frog over on the main channel, the Mushroom. Psychic Frog, we'll take a look at some of these cards. Psychic Frog is a new Modern Horizons 3 card. It's a 1/2 for 2 mana, and when you start to read it, it's very reminiscent of an older card called Psychotog. The name even sounds like it. It's a callback. It is a 1/2, and whenever it deals damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. That's new. That wasn't on the original Psychotog, but you can discard a card to put a +1/+1 counter on Psychic Frog. Kind of like Psychotog, except for the old Tog didn't get counters, it was just till end of turn. And then you can exile 3 cards from your graveyard, and it gains flying until end of turn. This is a card advantage engine, and it also helps you put things in the bin. So I saw some lists that look kind of like this floating around on the internet, and I wanted to try it. So here is the deck. We're doing Grief. That's another Modern Horizons 3 card. If you don't know what that does, I don't know what content you've been watching up to this point. Grief is probably like one of the strongest cards in every format that it's legal in. We're playing 4 Brainstorm, because you get to play Brainstorm. This is Timeless. 2 Not Dead After All. Normally decks like this would play 4, but I'm dropping it to 2 because we get to play Reanimate thanks to the, what's the name of it? The special guests or whatever you call it from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Then we've got 4 Stitcher Supplier to help us fill up the graveyard, 2 Thoughtseize, there's 2 more on the sideboard. It's just Thoughtseize, there's really not much more to say. Chthonian Nightmare is a really cool card, and it's also another callback. Chthonian Nightmare, for anyone who looks at pre-modern content, might be making some of that for the main channel if anybody's interested, so go check that out if you haven't yet. It's coming soon. It's reminiscent of Recurring Nightmare. Recurring Nightmare is a 3-drop. Chthonian Nightmare is a 2 mana enchantment, and when it comes into play, it uses the energy mechanic. You get 3 energy. Then you can pay X, sacrifice a creature, return Chthonian Nightmare to its owner's hand, and return target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. The X, you pay energy. So you can't really do anything crazy. That's why most of the creatures are very efficiently costed, but you can start to cast Chthonian Nightmare twice in a turn and buy back stuff like Grief. Then we've got Bowmasters. You guys know Bowmasters. Bloodghast, it comes into play for free from your graveyard when you play a land because of its landfall trigger, and that's very good with Chthonian Nightmare. You can sacrifice it and buy something back with Chthonian Nightmare, play a land, get it back, and Bloodghast coming into play from the graveyard triggers Satoru. I thought about playing 4 of this card, but it's legendary, so I'm only playing 3. But it's a blue-black for a 2/3 with Menace, and whenever it or 1 or more other non-token creatures enter play under your control, if none of them were cast, or no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card. So it's sweet. Even if you evoke a Grief, you get a cantrip. Pretty good. Sneaky Snacker. I've seen some decks playing up to 4 of these. I think this card's just okay. It's a 2/1 with flying for Dimir, blue and black. And when you draw your 3rd card in a turn, you can return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Brainstorm triggers this on its own. Psychic Frog plus Satoru trigger also returns this, and if this comes back into play, Satoru triggers, so that's cool. We're playing a Sink into Stupor. A lot of people are playing Otawara in decks like this. I think Sink into Stupor is probably just better. We're not playing Subtlety in our deck, but in Modern, you can pitch this to Subtlety and Force of Negation, which makes it pretty much a strict upgrade from Otawara in most cases. Then we've got Flare of Malice, the new Edict effect attached to a free spell, and our lands are fetches and colored sources with an Undercity Sewers. Kind of long-winded, but I don't know how familiar people are with the new Modern Horizons cards yet, so I figured I would just go over everything. Sideboard has sideboard cards. We got Tidebinders. We do have 1 Subtlety on License Hearse, Edict, a couple Vexing Baubles, Duress, Sheoldred, more Thoughtseize, a Surgical Extraction, and 3 Fatal Push. Just cards to deal with matchups. I'm not super familiar with the Timeless metagame. I'm not actually expecting this to go super well just because, like, I have no clue what people are playing in this format, especially not after the release of Modern Horizons 3. But that's it. Let's go ahead and play some. Ooh, I think we still have a badge number in Mythic. We haven't played since the last video, so we've probably dropped some badge numbers. But I think we still have a number. Let's get into game number 1. Found our first opponent, and we are 1369. This guy is in Diamond. Maybe there's not a ton of Mythic players playing Timeless. I know a lot of the Mythic players just play Standard. Let's look at this hand. We've got Orcish, Thoughtseize, Stitchers, Reanimate, Brainstorm, and 2 lands. The hand's a little slow. We don't have the classic Grief Scam. If you don't know what that means, we'll probably do it at some point in this video. But we do have Stitcher Supplier plus the Reanimate, some hand disruption, Bowmasters in case our opponent's also playing Brainstorm. I think we're just going to keep this hand even though it's a little bit slow. And our opponent mulligans to 6, so that's pretty sweet. Artifact land plus an artifact. I think our opponent is trying to do artifact things. I think I'm actually just going to open on Thoughtseize. If we hit a bomb from our opponent, we can reanimate it later. Mirror Enforcer is pretty cool. It costs 5 right now, though. I think the Synthesizer is just the best thing in their hand by kind of a lot. Let me see. They play Darksteel Citadel, then Mirror Enforcer costs 4. Then they play Springleaf Drum, and it costs 3, but they can't cast it. Yeah, we just need to take the Synthesizer, I think. That's gone. Next turn, we might go Stitcher Supplier plus Reanimate something. If we find a good Reanimate target, we'll see what happens. Hopefully our opponent didn't just draw gas. They did not. Okay, we're going to play Flooded Strand. We will Stitcher Supplier now. That way if we hit a Bloodghast, we can fetch and get the Bloodghast back. Polluted Delta, Reanimate, no good targets. You hate to see it. Nothing really to do, unfortunately. We're probably going to Brainstorm, honestly, on our turn. So for now, we'll just pass. I don't want to Brainstorm. I don't want to fetch then Brainstorm, because if I want to get rid of 2 of the cards in my hand, by fetching after Brainstorming, I can't do it that way. I'm going to have to keep one of them, because I will draw it. So they play a 4/4. We go to my turn. I draw another land. We've been 20% to draw land, and we drew 2 so far. Let's go ahead and open with Brainstorm. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Probably going to... that's actually interesting. We don't want all these lands, I know that. So we're going to put the Watery Grave and the Flooded Strand back, I think. And in order to not draw them, we'll fetch with this Flooded Strand. But the big question here is, do I want to grief them now? Or do I want to jam Stitcher Supplier and see what type of value I can accrue? I can also just cruise in with my Stitcher Supplier. That's also a line. Let's go ahead and fetch. Get those lands off the top of my deck. I don't necessarily want to mill them with a Reanimate in my hand. We're going to... Do we want to shock in this Watery Grave? We'll go to 13. That'll put us on a 4-turn clock. But if our opponent adds literally anything to the board, that's pretty bad. We might be grief scamming. Let's go ahead and... Yeah, we'll go to 13. We'll fetch. Then we're actually going to use this Supplier as a blocker. I think we can get rid of this Supplier. So let's go ahead and evoke this grief. Pitching a Supplier. Target the opponent with the Duress effect. Sure, we'll just take a Mox Amber. Not the best, but at least it wasn't a land. At least it wasn't just like a hard miss. And now we could reanimate our grief, but I think we'll hold off a little bit on doing that. If they decided to cruise in with this Mirror Enforcer, we can go Bowmasters plus damage on Mirror Enforcer, block with all 3. That seems not bad. No attacks. And if they don't do anything, we'll see how they play their turn before we figure that out. Boundary Inspector, that's fine. That's not the biggest threat right now. Attack with Mirror Enforcer. Okay, we are going to do exactly the play I just talked about. We'll grab Island. We'll play Orcish Bowmasters. I'm going to feed you all 3 creatures because our main board isn't particularly good at dealing with giant creatures, which the affinity decks can put into play. That's weird. I don't know if I would have conceded there in that spot if I were them. Huh. Whatever. Okay, so it looks like they're doing Synthesizer, Mox Amber. They probably have Kappa Cannoneer, which is going to be rough news for us. Tishana's Tidebinder is probably pretty good against cards like Kappa Cannoneer. And then Subtlety, I don't think I want that, especially not on the draw, but I don't know if I want it just in general. Fatal Push doesn't handle anything that I want it to. Sheoldred's Edict's probably pretty good, and maybe Sheoldred itself is solid. Vexing Bauble, whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. I wonder if they have, like, is Frogmite legal in this format? I have no clue. I think we're going to try it on the draw. All right, that's 6, and we might only play, like, 1. I'm not sure. We'll drop a Sink into Stupor. We'll drop Flare of Malice, I think, or, like, one of them. It's just pretty weak when they have, like, a billion dudes that all kind of do the same thing. Brainstorm's fine. Not Dead After All is probably fine. Sneaky Snacker might be a little bit weak here. Tishana's Tidebinder seems good. Sneaky Snacker just doesn't affect the board enough, I don't think. I think I need to get my engine going as fast as possible. And just having Sneaky Snacker stuck in my hand, the only way to get rid of him is to pitch him to Frog. That might be a little slow. I'm not sure. We're going to find out. Sheoldred also might not make sense either. We're going to go down to 1 Bauble, because I think that card, if it's good, it'll only be kind of good. And then is Chthonian Nightmare a little bit too grindy on the draw? It might be. I think we're gonna like play our game based off of I really want to grief scam our opponent so they can't just like dump their whole hand out on turn 2. All right, what do we get? Thoughtseize, Edict, 5 lands. There are 19 in the deck. Let's take a mulligan. Bloodghast, Brainstorm, Reanimate. This also seems kind of weak. You've got no fetches to reset the Brainstorms. There's just better 5s. This is one of them. Satoru, Stitcher Supplier, Reanimate, Orcish Bowmasters. We'll keep the 5. We're gonna ship Watery Grave plus. I think Orcish Bowmasters, I don't think it does quite enough in the matchup. In fact, it may have made sense when we go to game 3. If we lose this game, we probably will take out some number of Bowmasters. Springleaf Drum plus Darkslick Citadel, sure. Thoughtseize Bug, I got my Orcish Bowmasters back. Let's Stitcher Supplier and hope we get like a Grief or something, or even a Bloodghast would be pretty good. Bloodghast was hit, meaning we're gonna get that back when we play our land. Unfortunately, we're gonna need the land to actually cast the Satoru, so we won't get a draw off of the Bloodghast coming into play. Spire of Industry, not an artifact land, so it's not helping their affinity just yet. Frogmere Enforcer is still a 2/2 though. Ooh, this is pretty good. Still doesn't do the thing I want. I still just need to get Satoru into play, I'm afraid. Let's pay 2 life here. I will take the action. This thing will die in its own time anyway. And then I think we just want to put Satoru into play right now. Alternatively, I could cruise in with the Stitcher Supplier and do the Bowmaster trick. I think I'm going to see if they'll let us do that first. If they want to block here, we'll Bowmaster. I want to keep their artifact count down. They're not going to fall for that. So we'll play Satoru. 2/3 with Menace. All the text I talked about earlier should be pretty good as long as they don't put like 12 power into play this turn, which they might be able to do. All right, there's the Synthesizer, so that's going to be a substantial amount of power on its own. Because I believe whenever another artifact with mana value 3... Oh, it doesn't make its own construct. Well, that's quite good. They tapped their creature, so I can get in for functionally free. Let's Thoughtseize them, because Reanimate also reanimates out of my opponent's graveyard. Emery, Thought Monitor. I could reanimate a Thought Monitor, pay so much life, and draw cards. 3 cards, because of the Satoru. Or I could get a 4/4, seems weak. Emery seems weak. Let's take the Thought Monitor out of their hand. Let's functionally commit unaliving on ourselves, because I think we're going to pay 7 for that and go to 7. But our opponent doesn't have much in the way of a clock, so I think that that's okay. Reanimate, Thought Monitor. Here we go. I'll go to 7, but I'll draw 3 cards. Trigger Satoru, trigger the Thought Monitor. 1, 2, 3. That is a Grief. I probably will be Grief scamming right now. I don't need this additional Satoru. So we'll play land. We're going to go pitch cast Grief, pitching the extra Satoru. We're going to take that. What does this trigger? It triggers when another artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield. This has affinity, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4 artifacts. I might just hit the Frogmere Enforcer. Never mattered. Our opponent didn't want to play the game out. All right, so that's a 2-0. Very cool. Well, like I said in the previous video, we're always doing at least 2 best of 3 games. So let's play round 2 with some blue-black scam. All right, round 2, still stuck in the diamond portion of the ladder. What do you guys think? Do you want me to play most of my arena on camera, or is it okay if I grind off screen just to because I like to try to finish in the top 200 so I can get the invite to the qualifier, because I really want to record the qualifiers and put them up. So far, the closest I've gotten to actually qualifying through one of those is I was a win short. And some of them I just 1-2 drop. But if you guys are interested in seeing those anyway, I'll record them and post them as they are. You're even going to get the X2 drops, unfortunately, because you only get 1 try on the qualifier. But it's free to enter if you hit the top 200, which I've been able to do fairly consistently for the past 3 seasons, so the past 3 months. Of course, our opponent's taking their time. We might have an AFK player. Don't worry, if this opponent just dies, we will not count it and we'll play another game. Maybe 2 more, depending on how fast we win or lose. Okay, our opponent timed themselves out, so now they have to keep whatever hand they have. And our hand is pretty weak. I'm assuming our opponent's just gonna ditch us. But we'll keep this hand, pitch a Stitcher Supplier, and plan to grief scam our opponent on our first turn, if they show up to the party. If not, it's just a free win, I guess. Which we're on ladder, so I don't hate that. Ooh, Bloodstained Mire fetch. They actually have a play. Now the question is, are we going to get grief scammed? That would be very tilting if our opponent had to keep their 7 because they timed out and they just opened on grief scam. It's a Deathrite Shaman, so that does not happen. Meaning we get to... That's an Undercity Sewers, so we're probably going pitch Stitcher Supplier to the Grief, reanimate the Grief, take their 2 best cards. Next turn, Undercity Sewers. We'll Thoughtseize them first, and then Undercity Sewers. Try to set up our next play. I think that's what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and fetch. We're going to get a Watery Grave shocked into play. Hopefully that doesn't bite us in the ass, because this Deathrite Shaman can deal just so much damage over the course of a long game. We're going to try so hard to not let it be a long game, though. Pitch Stitcher Supplier. Grief come into play. What is your best card, please, sir? Or whoever you are. We've got 3 thoughts. Jesus. 3 Thoughtseize, Nethergoyf, Orcish Bowmaster. We can just take their threats and let them have as many Thoughtseizes as they want, and then I can just have a Grief and be in top deck mode. Right? That seems not that bad. It's going to be a minute before they can escape their Nethergoyf. So let's take Nethergoyf. Let's reanimate our Grief. Go to 13. Hello. Give me your Orcish Bowmaster. And now if they want to Thoughtseize, they'll have to Thoughtseize the Thoughtseize. They drew the land, so that's pretty solid for them. Underground Mortuary, keeping it on top also makes me a little bit nervous. We'll see what they do. I think they're going to Thoughtseize here based on this land coming into play tapped. We'll see. But they Thoughtseize the Psychic Frog. I might just allow them to Thoughtseize our next Thoughtseize. How many times can I say Thoughtseize in one round? The game. I don't know what our opponent's like taking so long with. Are they going to Thoughtseize us again? Looks like not. Let's play the Undercity Sewers. We have a Not Dead After All, which is actually kind of sweet if they ever draw removal. And Chthonian Nightmare is pretty weak with Deathrite Shaman looming. So we're going to put that into the graveyard. And then we'll get busy for 3. I think our clock is slightly better. And I'm not going to Thoughtseize them. I value my life total. And if they want to Thoughtseize, they'll have to do it twice. Thoughtseize or Thoughtseize are Not Dead After All. Which seems like fine. Alright, that resolves. Which one do you want? They take Not Dead After All. Sure. Are you going to Thoughtseize the Thoughtseize too? Or do you have some sick 2-drop I need to know about? Alright, looks like they're going to play a 2-drop. Alright, if this is like an Orcish Bowmasters or something, our opponent's... Okay, it's just Tarmogoyf. I have Menace. Although I can't actually deal with that Goyf at the moment. Flare of Malice isn't out. Let's get busy for 3. And pass. How do we dig out of this Tarmogoyf? Our opponent has drawn very, very, very well. What are you looking at your graveyard for? Chill. Chill out. Alright, just another land. But we are on a 2-turn clock. This Grief might be switched to blocking duty way sooner than I want it to be. Alright, we take 5. We're at 8. Then they can do 2-4. It's instant or sorcery to deal damage, and they have them. So this Deathrite Shaman can deal 2-4. Meaning I have to block with this. We'll see what happens, though. Because if I draw like a Flare of Malice or something, we could be in an okay spot. Our opponent's also at 7, so like Bloodghast, something interesting could happen with Bloodghast. I'm not sure, though. They go for gaining the life, which I think is probably wrong. Tap land, draw. It's a Psychic Frog. Me play Psychic Frog? Do I want to get busy with the frog? Becomes the next question. And I can also shrink their Goyf, I think. They have creature, sorcery, land. I'm the one with enchantment and instant. So I can use the frog to shrink the Goyf. That's kind of cool. I wonder if I can shrink it enough to not die. What would they need to do to get their Goyf up to a 3-power creature on their own? They need to get an instant in the bin. I can't stop it from being exactly a 3-power creature, but 3 plus 2 is not lethal. So I attack them for 3, that brings them to 6. Frog becomes a 2-power creature if I pitch the Thoughtseize, and then I draw and I pitch again, and that's 3 damage next turn, so that's 6. Okay, and I would need to exile everything but land from my graveyard to make it good. Let's do that. Beep beep. They're probably going to have to start eating their own creatures to stay alive. We'll see what happens, though. If they just drew Fatal Push or something, it's like, that just sucks. But what can you do? They go to combat. Beep beep for 5. Okay, I will exile 3 cards from my graveyard. They will be Reanimate. Not Dead After... No, Chthonian Nightmare and Not Dead After All. They will be able to exile 1. No, they can't. That's part of cost, so they can't even exile 1 with the Deathrite Shaman. So I'll just take 3 here. Beep. Now I think they have to exile a creature from grave to not die unless they drew the removal. And if they start eating at their own grave, we really like that. All right, they passed to us. We will draw. Polluted Delta. That's not great. All right, so we would need to... So they left the Deathrite Shaman back, meaning that they can block our Frog with it, which is not ideal. But they would need... It's kind of risky here, but I think we're supposed to attack out. Yeah. No, wait. No, we're good. I can go discard... Well, yeah, I can discard Polluted Delta to put a +1/+1 counter, so they need removal. Or I guess they can activate Deathrite Shaman and stay alive. This is a little bit tricky. Do they have... Yeah, they can kill us with their Deathrite Shaman. So I think I need to hope that our card draw of Psychic Frog is very good. Yeah, that's just where we're at. I think we're actually like pincered by this Deathrite Shaman. Remember earlier in the game when I said I hope it doesn't kill me when I shock this Watery Grave into play? I think it just did. We're going to see though. Do I want to give this flying? I think so. It doesn't shrink the Goyf, unfortunately. Very sad. And they have 2 sorceries, so they're going to be able to... But they have 2 creatures as well, so the Goyf's going to maintain its size as well, which is not ideal. But we do what we have to. Is there a way that we live? There is. I can just not attack with grief. Duh. We draw a Thoughtseize. We will just pass the turn. Because now I can block Tarmogoyf, and I can make the Psychic Frog just enormous. Okay, go to blockers. Block with grief. Hiya. We need like another chump blocker is what we really need. Okay, we'll take a draw. We've got 1 in the bin, so we can't really give this frog flying. However, we can grow it pretty far out of range. The problem is the Deathrite Shaman is going to continue to pressure us. But they don't know what we have in hand, so I don't know if they can afford to block with Deathrite Shaman. We got to take a little gambit here. I'm going to swing in for 3. I'm not going to give flight. I want them to think I have a follow-up creature, so they have to keep the Deathrite Shaman around in order to maintain lethal. Okay, they did not fall for it. Means I think we're dead, unless they gain life. Nope, they deal damage. I kill the dude. And then our gambit did not pay off. We are going to die literally just to the Tarmogoyf. That was kind of a weird game. I'm also mad that our opponent was AFK. Okay, what do we want to do? I think Thoughtseize is pretty miserable in these mid-range mirrors, so I'm going to take the Thoughtseizes out of my deck. Also, maybe it helps if I'm up here while I'm sideboarding. You guys let me know what you like better. Synchronous Stupor seems fine. I think our strategy generally is fine. They're probably going to bring in Scavenging Ooze. So we probably want to get rid of the Thoughtseizes, and we might want to get rid of like Chthonian Nightmare. And we might just want to bring in like all of our Fatal Push. And then what else? Do we want Sheoldred? It could be that we want Sheoldred. I don't hate Surgical Extraction against Nethergoyf at all. I love Unlicensed. They appear to be playing Tarmogoyf and Nethergoyf. So that seems solid. I think I'll pitch a Brainstorm. They're probably playing their own Bowmasters. In fact, I saw the Bowmasters, so I'll pitch 2 Brainstorms. And then in addition to those cards, I think I'll take maybe some over-the-top card, like Sheoldred wouldn't be the worst. Yeah, let's try that. I'm not confident this is correct, but it's what we're trying. All right, game 2. Come on, Grief Scam. Not into a hand with 3 Thoughtseize, and our opponent draws like perfect runner. We have Grief Scam. Keep. I think awkwardly we're getting rid of the Bloodghast to do so. We could get rid of Fatal Push. That's another gambit though, right? If we get rid of Fatal Push, we're really like praying that we don't need to leave our opponent with a reasonable 1-mana creature. But that lets us get Frog into play and start to juggle Bloodghast. But I think that if they have Scavenging Ooze in their deck, that's like pretty rough anyway. So yeah, let's go Grief and pitch Bloodghast. I think that's the way to do it. All right, what you got? They've got multiple Bowmasters, multiple rings, and a Deathrite Shaman. What would we like to deal with here? The Bowmaster is going to pretty easily block our Grief because they make a 1/1 and then they put a damage, double block, trades. I think I'm going to get rid of both of their Bowmasters and I'll Fatal Push the Deathrite Shaman. I think that seems to be a fine line. It makes me wait a turn for my Psychic Frog, but I think that's okay. All right, Bloodstained Mire, fetch. This time, I think we're comfortable. We can get an island with the Polluted Delta, so we will just shock on a Watery Grave so we have good mana. Reanimate our own Grief. And give me your other Orcish Bowmaster. Then we can use Polluted Delta to get our Surveil land and Fatal Push the Deathrite Shaman. I'm pretty sure they're playing this turn. Oh, they just play a tap land. Sure. That's kind of weird. I guess it's not that weird. I draw another Reanimate, which is pretty cool. Let's go land, combat, attack for 3. Let's just Reanimate their Orcish Bowmaster. Put more power into play. Take 1. And then end the turn. Then I'll just be able to fetch for my Surveil land and either push the Shaman or Frog or whatever I need to do. Looks like I'm going to be pushing a Shaman. Pass, fetch. Go and grab me a Undercity Sewers. What's in my bin? I don't think I want land 3. Do I want land 3? No, if I take land 3, I can do everything. I think we'll do that. We'll go land, Fatal Push, Deathrite Shaman. Beep, beep, see ya. Combat, 5. They probably don't play board wipes. I say as I'm about to get board wiped with like a Path of Peril or something. Get a Swamp. Here's my Psychic Frog. Good luck. Please don't path me. Please don't path me. It's just a Deathrite Shaman. That's fine. Is that all you got? You got anything on 2? Looks like no. We draw Chthonian Nightmare. There is some stuff we can do with the Chthonian Nightmare. I think we'll ship in with Bowmasters as well. No, because that's their Bowmasters. That's actually not very good. They are at 11. We don't have anything in our bin. I wonder if it makes more sense to like... Well, I guess we'll get a draw off the Psychic Frog. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump Frog. Getting rid of their Goyf deck, so I guess we'll get rid of these lands to start. How many do they have? None. So their Deathrite Shaman can't make mana now. So we're not worried about them necessarily ringing us unless they have the natural land in their hand. Then we'll go to combat. We'll get busy for 4. Yeah, 4. This is kind of a big draw step off the Frog if they let us have it. What do you have for 2 mana, dude? A Lightning Bolt. That is fine. I now have a line with the Chthonian Nightmare. Beep. Chthonian Nightmare. Get 3 energy. Activate Chthonian Nightmare. Pay 2 energy. Get this Psychic Frog back. Sacrifice this Dork. Hello. Alright, go. They would have needed to draw a land here to get the ring into play, which is pretty good for us. Looks like they might be passing. That makes me think they probably have some form of removal. Brainstorm is quite good. Let's jump our Frog. There's nothing we really need in the bin right now. And I like keeping my bin as empty as possible for the Deathrite Shamans. Because then they'll have to tax their own graveyard with Deathrite Shaman, which makes their Nether Goyf smaller. Seems good. We'll go to combat. I'm going to leave the Orcish Bowmasters back, obviously. It does not profitably block a Deathrite Shaman. Seems tough. I love that exiling the 3 cards from your bin is part of cost. They can't exile something in response with the Shaman. Alright, here comes 4. AKA half of your life total. How do we feel about that? Did you draw the removal? Did you find it? Looks like not. And if they found a Bowmasters, we can at least Brainstorm in response. Because if they have a Bowmasters, they'll do it in response to our Frog drawing a card, which will be... We are at 9. It will be punishing. Draw a land. Not the worst. Now we can like hard cast Griefs and stuff. I'm not going to pitch it to the Frog because I don't want them to be able to eat it with Deathrite Shaman. That's why I'm playing it out. And then I think we just pass. No reason to do anything. If they want to keep themselves alive, they probably have to start eating their own creatures out of their graveyard. You know, I was talking about taking Bowmasters out in this matchup because they're probably not the greatest, but I can't cut too many because I think I want like both halves of the body because our strategy is, you know, we use sacrificing creatures as upside. So Bowmasters making 2 bodies is pretty good. And we win game 2. Looks like we bought ourselves a game 3. On game 3, I think I'll trim the Sink into Stupor. I can have a slightly lower land count. And then I think I will trim an Orcish Bowmaster. And then what I would like in place of those cards is Tishana's Tidebinders number 1 and I think 2. I think we want to be able to hit the ring. So we'll try that. All right, show me a banger, please. Bowmasters, Frog, Reanimate 3 lands seems not very strong. I'm going to mulligan this. Timeless is a weird format because I look at those cards and I'm like, they're all good, but does the hand do anything? This hand seems fine. We've got Fatal Push for the first creature. We can Reanimate. We need some pieces, but I think this hand is ultimately like fine-ish. We're going to put the Sneaky Snacker back as it is an X1, and we're on the draw against a Orcish Bowmasters deck, which seems bad. We could just get like Grief Scammed here and completely demolished. Looks like they just go Bloodstained Mire and pass. We draw a second Reanimate. That's not very helpful at the moment, but I think it may become helpful. We're just going to play Flooded Strand and pass, planning to get our Undercity Sewers with a Flooded Strand. I'm sure our opponent's going to get like Rakuous Theether or Rakus Theether, I think is how the comments on the Neon Mushroom channel told me to say it. That's the one they get, yeah. All right, Surveil. Please put a fatty in the graveyard. No, cool, good talk. Shock and Stomping Ground. Start the life at a low life total, start the game at a low life total, which I love. It's just a 1/2. I wonder if they're playing Veil. I wonder if that's why they shocked. I think I have to maybe play into it anyway. Yeah, let's fetch. I'm not going to grab my Surveil land. I'm going to grab a shocked Watery Grave and punish myself again with my life total and see if they found Veil of Summer. All right. Here comes Fatal Push. If my opponent will ever pass priority. Okay. Please don't have Veil. Please don't have Veil. Fingies crossed. Fungies crossed. I did it. Yay, they didn't have Veil. Love to see it. Draw another Fatal Push. Don't hate it. Don't love it. We've got instant land in the graveyard. If I reanimate their Nethergoyf, I have a 3-power creature. That might not be the worst thing ever. And it means I don't have to... Well, I'm probably shocking this Watery Grave in anyway because of what do you call it? Because of their option to like play some beater on their turn and I can kill it before my turn. Let's go Watery Grave. I'm actually going to reanimate their Nethergoyf because reanimate's a sorcery in my bin. Instant land, so it's an X4, so they can't bolt it. And that's kind of big game. I also only lose 1 life for this play because it's a 1-drop. Seems not the worst. Okay, go. Now, I have to remind myself to not dead after all this Nethergoyf if they go to kill it because it comes back into play under its owner's control. So that would be a big punt. Shock and Overgrown Tomb, sure. Tarmogoyf, you got it. All right, here comes my big Fatal Push. Beep. Please don't have Veil again. Fungies crossed. Sweet. Very good. Am I going to reanimate a Tarmogoyf too? Could be. Not that after all. Those are not very good here. I probably need to like get Bowmasters into play at some point. I'm just going to crash in for 3 and chill out for a turn. I'm not going to reanimate a Tarmogoyf just yet. I want to get Bowmasters into play. Hopefully they'll tap out. Then I can like use my Not Dead After Alls to trigger the flicker the Bowmaster and get some extra points of damage in because I think this is going to be kind of a close race. Molten Collapse? Well, I can't stop you. You've killed your own Nethergoyf. What else you got? Passing to me. Okay, Orcish Bowmasters. Bring my opponent to 11, please, and eat a bolt, I'm pretty sure is what the Bowmaster's going to do. Our opponent continues to shock their lands into play and hold red up, telling me they just have bolt. I don't even think it's a debate. If they have it, they were probably supposed to use it there. I am going to do some stuff this turn. I am going to hold full control, and I'm going to evoke this grief, paying by exiling one of my Not Dead After Alls from my hand. And then the grief will resolve. I want to take your 2 best cards, opponent, and put you on a fast clock. All right, grief triggers, target my opponent, resolve that trigger while holding the evoke trigger on the stack. That's very important. They're going to bolt the grief. I will now Not Dead After All the grief. They did have the bolt exactly like I wrote it up. Very cool. All right, opponent, give me your 2 best cards, please. Oh my god, your cards are all insane. Well, I don't want them to cast any of these spells. But that's not an option. They're going to get to play one of those. I think if they play one, it's got to be the Molten Collapse. We're going to take their 4-drops that they can't cast because Molten Collapse worries me the least. Of course, Molten Collapse does create a situation where, like, if they make their land drop, no, it kills non-creature 1-drops or less. So yeah, we're going to leave them with the Molten Collapse. There goes Minsk and Boo. There goes the One Ring. Combat, beat for 2. And then I think I just want to put a big creature into play. Probably their Nethergoyf since their graveyard's so big. So let's reanimate their own Nethergoyf. I guess Tarmogoyf might be better because it's going to stay bigger. Because if I get a Nethergoyf, it's only going to be a instant sorcery land 3-power. Yeah, let's just get their Tarmogoyf. Beep. I'll go to 12. All right, opponent, I have lethal. What do you have? A Tarmogoyf. Very cool. Our opponent is at less than 10 life. If I play this, did they die? Block my biggest creature. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not quite. Can Tarmogoyf kill me? I do not think so. Cast this. Swing in with everything. I guess I could leave a... No. Leaving a blocker back doesn't make, like, any sense. I'm just full sending. You may go to 1. This will put them off of fetching for the rest of the game, which is great. No shocking either. I don't know exactly what they could have that kills us right now, but I don't think it exists. Like a Minskimbu would do it, but they just don't have the land for it. And I already took their first Minskimbu. And they just killed themselves by blowing up a Wicked Roll. Very cool opponent. All right, cool. A little bit of a 2-0 action. What is that, 45 minutes? 1103. Yeah, let me know if I'm allowed to grind off of camera, because that's the way I prefer to do it. I like to play at night after I'm done working and stuff, so we'll see. But that'll do it for today. If you like this deck, check it out. Although I would say my personal opinion on this deck itself is it's a really cool shell. I don't think that the version I just played is the final version if this deck winds up being good. So if you're short on wild cards, maybe don't craft this one. If you're going to craft some of the cards, do like Reanimates and Griefs. And you can play mono black, meaning you don't need to get all the fetch lands, which I think is going to be a huge plus. But that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you next time.